exclusive story for you right now. The CBC's Alison Crawford has a draft copy of the RCMP's proposed new Code of Conduct. It's supposed to replace the 25-year-old code. But the question is, does it address some of the larger controversies the force is dealing with right now, especially harassment in the ranks, an issue Alison's covered extensively. She joins me now with new details. All right, Alison, what's the new Code of Conduct?
Well, the code replaces an old one that's 25 years old that's really cumbersome and rambling. It covers everything from Mounties not going into a bar while in uniform to obeying the chain of command. This new one is 10 points. It's really short, it's very clear, it's in plain language, and it contains two aspects that weren't included in the original code. One deals specifically with harassment. It says members should treat the public and colleagues with respect and courtesy and not engage in acts of discrimination or harassment. So that's something that people have been really pleading for since all the revelations of bullying and harassment came to light in the last 2 years. It also includes a provision regarding the use of force. Incredibly, in the last Code of Conduct, there was nothing relating to the use of force. This one says members' use of force will use force that is necessary, proportionate, and reasonable in the circumstances. So, of course, in light of the entire situation with Robert Jacansky and other high-profile incidents, this is something that is pretty clear. It's something the public can understand and that Mounties will understand.
There are some concerns about the new element in this Code of Conduct as well, dealing with speaking publicly. What's that all about?
Well, the Code of Conduct in the past always prohibited members from speaking publicly about controversial issues. This one broadens in a way that's subtle, but I think pretty important and noteworthy. It talks about members avoiding making public statements that could reasonably be interpreted as having an adverse effect on, conduct and operation. Fine, that's something that we can all understand. But it also talks about having an impact on an adverse effect on morale and public perception of the force. Those two things are very subjective. So how, if a member was being disciplined for violating that aspect of the Code of Conduct, how do you do that fairly when it's pretty subjective? What's the morale of the force on any given day? How does the public perceive this, the Mounties at a certain time? So it's something that I think would be very difficult to judge.
The other thing, Alison, you remember some Mounties had been called before a committee and been prevented from talking about certain aspects. There's a whole range of issues. Would this cover them to say, okay, you can't call a Mountie to testify if they're going to have an adverse effect on morale?
Well, I mean, I believe, my personal opinion is that's protected by privilege, and that's just an issue that they would have to deal with. But this talks about making statements, speeches, and appearances that could reasonably that you have to get authorization to do so. So it covers its butt in that sense by saying you have to get permission to do this, but I think at the same time, I just think that the Mounties have spoken on many occasions to many parliamentary committees, and it should probably continue.
That may continue, but we'll find out if they continue to speak, of course, to the media and the members of the public. All right, Alison Crawford is following that story. What does the new Code of Conduct mean? Will it actually muzzle some people? We don't know. Thanks, Alison.
You're welcome.